Dude, we are live. Live from
What's
Happy
up?
Valley.
I'm live. Get the coffee out. 3
Yeah,
p.m.
yeah.
afternoon. What's up,
Dang.
Sam? First summer office hours. Well, not necessarily. I think you did it last week,
Yeah,
earlier,
but it wasn't
like
the
Monday.
official start.
Yeah,
I
this
guess
is
it was
Yeah,
my
this is the
plans.
official start of the summer semester with office hours.
got it.
Ooh,
Week
it's
one.
crazy. It doesn't feel like it, man. Someday I'm gonna back when I was back in the day when I was a much younger man, once I decided I wasn't gonna be on a tenure track and be beholden
Mhm.
to the institution day in
How
and
old
day
was
out.
that?
I guess it was probably from 93, 94 until probably 2001 or so when we started Race Relations Project 2002. I used to, at the end of the summer, I'd bring my plants home because I always have plants up in my office and close the
Mhm.
office door, man. And then it was it. It was closed it was locked up for about 3 months. And then I
Mhm.
just lived life. And
That's nice.
yeah, it was really nice. It was just like a hard stop and doing different things. But I don't do that anymore. Then
This
I
is
stopped doing that. It became a full-time job.
uh, this is when you decide. So you're saying this is when you decided you weren't doing tenure track
Yeah,
between
I
that time?
decided. Yeah, and therefore I didn't have to work my tail off all summer long.
Got
Doing
it.
all the things I would need to do to jump through the hoops of tenure and that sort of thing. So it
But
was a gift.
even not doing tenure, you ended up it still
I
started
ended up
evaporating
doing
anyway.
it. Yeah, because I'm a
Yeah,
workaholic, man.
right.
I'm
What
a
was
workaholic.
replaced?
No, it's actually not a workaholic. I have too many. I'm an idea person that I can't
Right.
stop having ideas about things to do and that sort of thing. So, but
Yeah, yeah.
Lori and I used to walk. We'd take Roshi out for a walk. We got him in '98. It'd be like 9:30 or 10 in the morning or 1 in the afternoon. We'd be walking him around the neighborhood, being like, "Hey, we're semi-retired." But all that ended, and then it was back to 50,
Hmm.
60 hour weeks.
Yeah. Did that was a lot of that work like traveling or just working on projects from home?
Just really working to get the what was called the Race Relations Project off the ground. What later became World in Conversation.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It just
Right.
takes a lot, man. It was just so much.
Right.
And then writing a
Hmm.
couple books and doing things that I didn't need to do, but I just did.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm. Was was there how long did it take to create like a strong team for the race relations like a staff instead of it just being like you and Laurie, did it take a while for you to like build out a team the
yeah,
way it is at World in Conversation
yeah. It
or
took about
for a
probably
long
6 years, 5 years.
of
Until
just the two of
DJ
you?
came. Yeah, DJ came along. That was like a really important key piece.
And
And
that's when it was still the race relations project.
no, and at that point it was World in
It was
Conversation, I think.
got
Yeah.
it. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
And yeah, at one point in time, man, it was popping, man. Pond Lab was popping. I mean, it just
Yeah.
you could walk in there any moment. It was just jamming with people. Well, you were around back then, so
I
you know.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
From 2017 to 2019. It
yeah, it
felt
was,
like there was always someone there. Yeah,
yeah,
always.
yeah. A lot going on. It's interesting to see that uh, things change. It's hard right now. I have a difficult time because as I'm shifting the way I think about work and what I'm doing and what my contribution to the world is or could be or what it never will be because it
Mhm.
just aren't enough years left.
Right.
Uh, it's a thing, right? It's aging is not for the weak at heart. My aunt used to say that. She was like 90. She lived into her late 90s. She'd be like, getting old is not for the weak at heart.
Right.
You gotta,
Right.
and
Is it does a lot of your when you think about the shifting of how you're working and how that impacts Social 19 and World in Conversation, is a lot of it due to like, okay, I'm one of the leaders here, and how does me as a leader being close or far from the work impact, like how just impact the I don't know. I was just kind of going off into a direction of like how you're thinking about the shift. And I'm like,
I
you know, as someone who started it,
yeah
like I
yeah
wonder
yeah yeah.
the anxiety that you could feel from being distant, at least I can imagine, you know, especially as you're building it up and feeling the need to be super close to it in order for,
Mm,
you
hmm.
know, and then like as there's so much more structure in place as it like grew, you know, that probably
Hmm.
changes like how distant you can feel to know that it's still functioning and like
Mm.
still then
Yeah,
like what are the different I don't know.
yeah. No, that's a really good question. Yeah, I feel it. I feel as you know, when you work really, really hard, it's like if you know, you start your own business, right? And you work really
Mhm.
hard and you put so many hours in, man.
Yeah.
And I know people who do this and they start from the ground up and they just, it's a labor of love, right? And, you know, you put in 50, 60 hours, 70, I don't know, a week, you know, you're just so much going into it to make it successful.
Yeah.
And, but at some point in time, you know, you if you succeed at that, right? If you truly do succeed, then at some point in time you're going to walk away from it, right? Unless it's just like a one person show, right?
Right.
You're gonna walk away. You're gonna it's like with a family, right? If you're successful as a family, well, every family is successful in a different way, right? Lori and I are successful, but it's just the two of us, right? But you know,
Hmm.
if you know, you have this idea, you want to have children, and then you know your children have children, and then you're a grandparent, you know, and then you've got these family photos, and you see all these people around, and spouses of your kids or grandkids or whatever. But at some point in time, you get small, you're going to get smaller. You're going to walk away or die away or something. And like, but that's the success, right? Because you turn it over to somebody else. And,
Hmm.
but it's hard. It's, you know, it's a challenge going through that. Yeah.
Well, it's a challenge going through what that transition
Yeah. The
or
transition. Yeah. Because it's a success and a failure at the same time. It's the success is that you were able to do all the things you set out to do. And here it is. But you got to let it go. And you're
Mhm.
going to let it go, even whether you want to or not, you're going to. And then the success becomes if somebody else is able to take it over and go with it, right?
So you got to let it go because your personal demands are different, or
No,
because
because you're gonna die.
because you're gonna die.
You're gonna die, man.
Get out of
Because
here.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, because you know you need to retire, right? Yeah, there are other
Hmm.
things. You get a certain age. Like I'm now at the stage where in my life where I just have a different relationship to my work than I did. Um,
So yeah, I guess I
yeah,
mean, what are those other things? Because I asked you personal demands, but first you were
yeah.
like no, but then you're like, oh, there are other things now. Like as things change, so it's not like personal demands or like different life demands that requires. Because like you want to retire, there's other things. At least that's. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, no, completely. No, for
Okay.
example, now I'm not thinking about class. I'm not thinking about children 18, world in conversation, a lot of things, but I'm writing some um, talks and different things for Korea. Lori and I are working on two different television shows in Korea.
That's
Uh,
cool.
and we're thinking about another thing that we might do, you know, somewhere
Mm,
else. And so you
that's
know, my
awesome.
energy goes to those things because that's what
Right.
at this stage in my life, like that's kind of what
Hmm.
I'm more called upon to
Right.
do, so to speak, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what your
Um,
previous successes have
yeah,
built and transformed into this other thing now. It
yeah,
sounds
that's
like,
right.
you
That's
know,
right.
it's
Yeah, and it's
that's
not
cool.
teaching. It's not you know teaching in the way that I used to teach, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I mean, but it is. I mean,
And
I'll do 119, but that's not teaching. You know what I mean?
mm,
It's like it's a broadcast. It's not a class. And yet it's a class. It is
right,
obviously, but I don't see it that way. I see it as a broadcast.
right. Hmm. There's not as many or like the nuances that you hold maybe are different, you know, versus like you're holding certain things for students
Yeah,
you're
that's right.
holding different things for a more broad audience, or
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
your responsibility isn't necessarily to teach
Yeah.
in media.
That's right.
You know, you can have
That's right.
you can the way you show up can be different.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
right.
in like holding a position more, or maybe
Yeah.
you can be more you, like
Yeah.
less facilitator, more.
Yeah. And
Or
I
like you
wouldn't.
don't always have to be a sociologist per se. You can be like a,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
A historian or a philosopher or something, or a
You could be a
psychologist. But
drummer. You could be a
yeah,
guest host.
drummer, yeah. A comedian. I want to be a comedian. I want to tell jokes, man. I wish I could
That
tell jokes.
that would have been a great bit just earlier when you were talking about like you're like I'm a sociologist and I'm at the age where I'm listening to Seesaw.
Yeah.
You know, like at least give me a different word. Like,
Yeah. That's
like
funny. Yeah.
that was
That's
the
funny.
angle you had me.
Maybe that's why I didn't. If you know, okay, I was telling Elijah about I did a hearing test the other day, and yesterday actually it was, and so the hearing test consisted of me just letting the person know whether I could hear a sound, in each of my ears, the beep, right? It's louder, it's softer, but also then I listened to a voice, a recording of words that were being stated, seesaw, and airplane, and bicycle, and all sorts of different words with different sounds, and
Right.
and what I discovered was that in my left ear is okay, but in my right ear, I've lost 85% of my comprehension of just words, some words, not about sounds, man. Like I didn't even hear the word. Like he read one word, and I heard something completely different. So my brain, and so hearing isn't just your ability to take in sounds. It's actually how your brain processes the
Processes
sounds,
those
right?
sounds. Yeah.
So that's what Elijah was referring to. Like,
Yeah, like
shit.
instead of airplane, it should be discrimination,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah. Yeah.
immigration.
Yeah. 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 God, like, I don't know, man. I mean, 85% functioning. Well, that explains why I hear things or I don't hear things. People say things and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Or I respond. I respond with something completely different than what I was asked.
I'd be like, wait, Sam, wait, hold on.
I think you missed my question.
Yeah.
But now I have a reason for it. I'm like, no. I only missed 15% of your question, and it was only your whole question. It was just certain words in your question that my brain no
Yeah.
longer processes.
But
What
and
are
now
those words? Well, we don't know. Seesaw is one of them, though. I don't understand. Don't say seesaw. I don't get it.
Oh, seesaw is one of the words.
That's what he
That's funny.
said. That's what he said. Yeah, you didn't get seesaw. I'm like, well, what did I hear? Hee haw? Like, I don't know. That's an old television program from the 60s and 70s,
Hee haw works for you, not seesaw.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah.
Oh man, or yeehaw. That's hilarious. Or
Like,
like your peepaw, like grandfather.
yeah.
Like maybe you hear
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah.
That's too funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
that's cool. But yeah,
Yeah.
but you got but now those earphones correct that other 15%, right? Just to close the loop on that.
No. No,
Oh,
you mean the hearing aids?
the
No,
hearing aids. Yeah, yeah.
nah, they don't. You lose that. Well, okay, hang on. These hearing aids may help me to regain brain functioning. So the newest
Mm,
research by the people studying these things is that, like, yeah, we think your brain, with the right hearing aids, your brain can relearn to hear certain sounds.
mhm.
Because it's so much about what goes on in your brain, man. That's why. That's why
Wow.
hearing loss. I was saying earlier, their hearing loss is such a big contributor to dementia and Alzheimer's, and
Right.
that's why it's
It
so
must have
important to not overlook that.
it had to be a huge discovery at the time.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
And I see that. I'm like, how to avoid over the past year. Like I'm like, seeing like, okay, how do I avoid dementia, right? Like here's
Mm,
these articles, and the number one or two thing always is hearing loss, and I'm like, shit, I'm in trouble. So
wow.
therefore, that's where the hearing aids are, good hearing aids are really important. Yeah.
And it's cool the way that you like confront these issues, Like I feel like some people they'll like avoid it, or it like creates a like out of
Well,
fear, or
I,
something,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
we like confront it head on to address it,
Well,
you know.
actually, not entirely. I mean, I
Right.
used to think that, but a few years ago when I had my very first kind of health thing, which is
Hmm.
when I went in for just this checkup because I
Yep.
was off and I had really high blood pressure. And then I'm like, I always had the idea that I'm somebody who, like, I'm gonna go get tested for this and tested for that. Or why would you avoid getting a test? Like, come on, man.
Right.
As soon as once if they discover something, then we can address it. Like, this is the thing with aging that's really important.
Right.
Get your tests. And so,
Yeah.
but suddenly, but that was easy when I never had any health issues at all in life, man. I went like, 35 years with virtually nothing at all because I had my
Hmm.
appendix out when I was 25, and that was the last time anything really happened. And
Hmm. Hmm.
I was,
Oh, like
it
your
was,
appendix burst or something like that, or
yeah, I was in Mexico at the time.
got it.
Did I ever tell you? Do you know this story?
No. Mm-mm.
That I was living in Mexico. It was the summer. I spent the summer there. I spent uh, Mexico City, and I woke up. I had been there maybe about 10 days or so, and I woke up in the middle of the night with a pain that I had never felt before, man.
Hmm.
And I was just, it just was not going to go away.
Hmm.
And normally,
Is
I tried to go back to sleep. I tried to ignore it, but I couldn't. And so it was about
yeah.
3:30 in the morning.
It's around like your torso area, right?
Yeah, yeah. It
Okay.
and so I just left my place where I was staying and went out and got on a bus came along, and it took me down this road where there was this hospital, but the hospital was closed. They couldn't get in, so I'm like, ah, shit. Okay, well, God's sake, I have a closed hospital in the middle of the night. So I asked. So there was some taxi driver, and I'm like, I found a taxi. I'm like, hey, can you take me to a clinic or something, a hospital? Or he said, yeah, I got a clinic I can take you. Yeah, it's like 4:30. I don't know. So I went to this clinic, and there were just people everywhere, And people, I mean, it's Mexico, man. It's like,
Hmm.
it's a very much a working class area of Mexico. People out front. This guy is like,
Hmm.
you don't need, what you need is a shot of tequila. I'm like, all right, give me a shot of tequila, but it didn't help. And finally, I talked
That's
to
fun.
somebody, and the person's like, listen, man, you need not, I didn't go in, I didn't have an appointment or anything. There were so many people, but someone said, you need to go to this hospital down the way. And so they talked to this taxi driver and said, here, take him to such and such a place. So he did. So I go there, and it's in
How good
this
was your
really,
Spanish at the time?
it was, it was passable. I could figure things out, but it wasn't, I mean, I could speak, right? But it
Hmm.
wasn't not like it is now.
Got
Anyway,
it.
so
Okay.
he drops me off at this emergency room area, and it's just a long corridor, long driveway, right? It's in a really poor part of town. Really,
Hmm.
really, really poor and pretty violent part of town, actually.
Hmm.
Anyway, so of the city. So I
Hmm.
show up and I walk into this emergency room, and now it's Sunday morning. So it's about 4:30 in the morning. Maybe five. By now, it's just starting to get light. So it's probably more like 5:30.
Hmm.
And this person is cleaning up blood with a squeegee on the emergency room floor. Like, it's just these different rooms and stuff, right? It's
What?
just a squeegee, like vroom, vroom, so much blood, man, blood everywhere. I'm like, oh
Wow.
my God, man. Okay, so I talked to
Hmm.
someone. They're like, hey, just wait in there. So, eventually a person comes in, and they examine me. Like, yeah, I think we need to do another exam with you. And so they said, here, come with us. And so I went, and then
How bad's the pain at the time?
it was pretty bad. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
You're doing
And
all
this person,
this while you're like,
yeah, I'm just like, oh God. So anyway,
uh
they put me in a bed, and this person comes along, and they're like, yeah, I don't know. I think that this could be your appendix. And it's all in Spanish, right? So I'm like, okay, damn, all right. So they said, but hang on, we're going to get someone else to examine you. So one of the ways to test for your appendix is go up your your rectum, and kind of feel around for it, different things. You can feel in the front, but ultimately you got to feel to see if it could be other things,
Right.
So anyway, so one by one, and so this other guy came along. He had a group of like interns, I guess, right? Students. There were maybe like 5 or 6, 7, 100 of them. I have no idea. But he's like, "Do you mind if my students also examine you?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem, man." But one by one, they put a glove on and put some Vaseline on their finger, and one by one, they shoved their finger up my rectum, man. And I was like, you're just doing this to the gringo, man. You know what I mean? It's like, we got a gringo here. Let's stick it to him.
That's another bit. You got to write that down. You have this written down?
Dude, totally.
This is one.
I got this one. Yeah. So like one after another, man. And each one, they would look at me with this look in their eyes, like, sorry to do this.
Yeah.
So finally, they're like, "Yeah, we think it is," but we're gonna. But you're an American. Do you have insurance?
They all took their individual analysis.
Yeah, they all took it
and came together with.
And they said and what they said was, "Yeah, you're right. Let's stick it to the gringo." No, but eventually they said, "Well,
right.
But you have insurance," because I did. We were unionized at Rutgers, so the graduate students had really good insurance. Back then, it was rare that we would have. We had Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they said, like, "Well, you go to. What are you doing here, man?" I'm like, "I don't know. The taxi driver brought me here." They're like, shit. You need to go to the other hospital where all the foreigners go, man. Like, come on. This is like the poorest. This is a city-run hospital in the poorest part of town, man. That's why there was so much blood, because of gunshot victims and stab victims and so on, right? That's just like who's coming all night long, right? And mind you, this is early Sunday morning, so it was a Saturday night of violence. So I'm like, man, okay. Well, so they start making arrangements. So we'll make some phone calls. We'll get you an ambulance and get you over there. The chief surgeon comes along, right? Now he's an older dude. He's like my age now, and he's like the dude with authority. And he says, "Hang on, let me check this guy." He checks me out. He puts his finger up my ass.
Another one. 20 minutes later.
With him, it was like 3-4 fingers. Like,
Oh my God.
I know what you Americans have done to us. So like, all right. So anyway, so he says, "Hey, where what are you doing?" And they said, "We're going to send him to another hospital, the other hospital." He's like, "No, you're not." He's like, "Get him prepped for surgery. He's going into surgery right now. His appendix are ready to burst. He'll die. He won't even make it there. He'll be dead." And I was like,
"Can you feel that?"
Whoa. I still feel that. Like, I was like, oh, damn, man. Okay, so right away, man, the woman comes with a razor and starts shaving me up and getting me ready, getting me prepped.
She puts her finger. No,
she didn't do that. She was all good. They were done with that already. So anyway, so they take me to they're like, "Hey, you're all right. Like, do you have any, what do you have? Do you have any, can you give us a name of somebody, if something goes wrong?" So I gave him the name of my mom. And I said, "But she doesn't speak Spanish, man." Nobody was speaking English at all. This was all in Spanish. And I'm like, "Well, here's her name and here's her phone number. So you have that, and here's so you can connect to me. You can find out who I am," because I didn't even have any idea on me. I had nothing at all. I'm just this American. So they take me in the surgery, right? For, I guess do you call it a surgery? The operation room or whatever?
Operating room. Yep. Surgery.
Operating room. So they took me in there, and the guy leaves me there. He said, "Listen, man. The surgeon who's going to do your surgery," it wasn't the chief surgeon, it was this other guy. He said he really likes to listen to merengue. We'll turn the music on, and they put on merengue. It was so loud, man. It was so loud. It was just like
What?
I'm laying there now. I'm just there. I am by myself, right? And the merengue
With
is like da, 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 and I'm just like yeah, there. And it was it, man. It was it. This was like this was it. I'm like, this is how I might go out like this. This might be the end for me, man.
With
And I'll never
merengue
forget.
music. Oh my
It
God.
was perfect. It was perfect for me, the sociologist, right? By myself in middle of Mexico City, having had all this experience and stuff, right? And now I'm laying there, and I'll never forget. Like tears are coming down my eyes, because I'm just that's it. This is the end. This is it, right? But they
Yeah.
weren't tears of. So the nurse comes in, surgeon comes in, they start in preoperative procedures and stuff. And she says, "Hey, don't be afraid. That it's going to be fine." I'm like, "No, no, no,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. That's not what the tears are. The tears are just like, wow, just the emotion of the entire experience, right?"
Mm.
Surgeon comes in.
Mhm.
He says, "Listen, man, Samuel, okay." He says, "Look, man, I spent the last 12 hours dealing with gunshot wounds and knife wounds." He said, "Stuff you can't ever imagine." He said, "This appendicitis, this is easy, man. This is like nothing for me. It's a piece of cake, right?" So
That's awesome.
he said,
Wow.
"Yeah, this is good. You'll be out of here in no time. We'll be all good, man."
Wow.
So,
Did he give you peace in that moment or like calm, relief?
yeah,
Oh,
well,
you were already kind
I
of
already
relieved.
had it. Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I figured like if this is the way I go out, it's the way I go out. But it was just it was just like the
Amazing.
adventure of this. It was so
Right.
intense, right? So,
Incredible.
so the guy says, the anesthesiologist comes in. He's like, "Okay, here we go." Now, Andrew, music is blaring, right? Like it's not like this isn't like calm atmosphere. Music, bah, bah,
Oh,
bah, bah,
as
bah,
he's
bah,
saying
bah,
this to you, it's like
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, so she says, "Okay, listen, man, count down from 10. Put the mask on for 10, 9, boom, boom. I'm out, man.
Mm,
I'm out. I
mm.
wake up, right? It gets better, right? It gets better. I wake up, have no idea where I am, but my eyes start to open, and I'm in this big, massive room, right? And I feel this wind. It's kind of cold, and I can feel I have a sheet on me. And I look over to my left. To my right is like nothing. It's kind of what would be like a nurse's station. And there wasn't anyone to my.
Mm.
Maybe there was someone to my right, actually. I think I remember. I turned to my left. It's this dude. He looks like Pancho Villa with the big, huge mustache, man.
Oh, okay,
I don't know if
yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
Pancho Villa, but
But I know the mustache.
yeah,
Mm.
you get that. You can just see the image, right? And
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
handcuffed to the bed,
Oh
right? And there's a
shoot.
cop sitting between us, right? And I'm like, oh damn, man. All right, look. I'm like, whoa, what did he do? I look, the wall is gone. It's a sheet of plastic hanging down. It's a massive wall. The window's gone, I mean, right? Where the window was is a big sheet of plastic. Now, mind you, it's like 15 feet, maybe 20 feet high,
Mm,
and maybe 30 feet long, right? The whole width
mm,
of the room, maybe 40
mm,
feet, right? And it's just a big sheet of plastic.
mm,
Well, this is a really poor city hospital in Mexico, right? I mean, I know hospitals are poor in Mexico. This just happened to be one of the poorest. The previous summer in 1985, was the earthquake, the big earthquake in
mm.
Mexico. And it destroyed part of the hospital, and all the windows, destroyed all the windows. So they still hadn't repaired it. So this is now
Wow.
June in 1986. So I'm like, damn, man, it's raining, the wind's blowing, dust, rain. I'm just like, where the hell am I, right? And so
Yeah.
all good. So the nurse, somebody comes over, I wake up, comes over, gives me some morphine or whatever it was. I don't know. And
And I guess you to say, like, I can understand, like, in the moment, how that can feel. Like you just wake up from being unconscious
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like in the middle of a storm. I'm like,
yeah.
you're outside, it's raining, it's plastic wall, you've got someone who's being arraigned to the left of you. Like what a
Yeah,
surprise to wake up to.
yeah, dude,
You know,
completely,
yeah.
man. So, you know, eventually I start to get my bearings about me. The nurse, I'm like, trying to get more morphine because I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, can you get more morphine? She's like, nah, you're on a strict regimen. I'm like, well, come on, man. I'm a gringo. I got money. Like, whatever it is, I'll pay you. Just give me some morphine. I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
And
Did that work?
she said,
We
no, I didn't have any money. Like, I didn't have ID. She said, I don't even know who you are. Like, what's your name? Like, we don't even know you, And I'm like, fuck. Like, I can't bribe somebody. I don't have anything, right?
right.
Turns out, so there's like eight beds in this area. So there's 8 of us there. And then there's 3 more behind us, right? It's a big, huge open space, like a third the size of like a football or a soccer field or something. And then each one had like 8 beds, and there was like one nurse for everybody, man. It was like to each his own. Like you take care of one another, right? So it was a really fascinating experience, right? The guy eventually the cop leaves. The guy next to me he's like, oh, gringo, what's wrong with you? I'm like, oh man, yeah, my appendix. I'm like, what'd you do to get here? To handcuff to the bed? He's like, I shot a cop, right?
Oh,
I'm like, damn, man. I'm like, that's pretty serious, right? then the cop comes back in and sees the guy talking to me. And the cop comes over. He's like, what'd he say to you? I'm like, he just said what he's here for. He didn't like what else did he say? He's like, I didn't say anything. You know what I mean? Nothing at all, right? And
he's like, don't be a snitch.
Don't be a snitch, yeah. Maybe he didn't even say I shot a police officer. Maybe he said they said I did. I don't know. But crazy. So at some point I have to go to the bathroom, right? First off, I have a bedpan, but I can't, there's no one to change it, right? So it's other patients are going to have to come help me out. You know what I mean?
Really?
That's what's really interesting. It's like community of people who were all poor, we all have nothing.
So
we're going to help each other out.
So it wasn't one nurse to patient. It was
one nurse for 32 people, man.
One nurse per room?
For the whole thing. There's 4 sections, each with 8 beds. And there's one nurse for all 32,
each section.
Yeah.
Oh, for all.
Not for each section, for all 4 of them, man. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
So 1 to every 32. That's what you were saying.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Wow. Yeah. So then it was patients were supporting each other. Wow.
Yeah. So for example, one point in time, I decided, okay, I got to get up and walk around because they were like, listen, man, you got to get up and walk. I'm like, I don't want to get up. You got to get up and walk. You got to go.
The patients are saying that?
Now the nurse came by and says like, you gotta get moving, man. You gotta get out of bed. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. So I get up and I have my IV on a pole, on one of these poles, with wheels on it. Mm-hmm. So there were, but it should have had 4 wheels. It only had 3, which meant that it was tilted, right? And I'm slowly walking across because it's a really poor place, right? Yeah, so I'm walking across the I get up, I put my sheet on my shoulders. I said I had a sheet, I had no clothes. I had a little gown. I had nothing. So I put the sheet kind of on my shoulders and I start just slowly walking over. And I'm right in the middle of the room. Yeah, I'm going to go to the bathroom, right? And I'm right in the middle of the room and the sheet falls off my shoulders. And I'm naked. I'm standing there naked in front of all the beds, and it's just like this. I'm just like, shit. And I try to reach down to get it, but I can't to get my sheet. And I'm just naked. And the dudes, there's another guy in this other bed. He's like, gringo, un momento. Yeah, okay. So he gets up out of bed. He comes over. He picks my sheet up. He puts it around me. He's like, okay, there you are. And then I keep going.
Oh, man.
Meanwhile, I'm just thing that I'm carrying is like on it. It's tilted like this.
You're dragging it.
But you know what? Here's the crazy thing. It was awesome. The whole
Yeah,
experience was awesome. People were great.
exactly.
We were all helping each other out.
Yeah,
We were, it's socialized medicine in Mexico in that way. So
socialized medicine. Yep.
yeah, it's for poor people. So like, it was nothing. I didn't pay a dime. I donated blood. They said,
Oh, is
listen,
that what you
can
mean
you,
by socialized medicine?
yeah, it didn't, yeah, it was taxpayer funded. So I had an
Got it.
appendix surgery in
That
the
makes
US
sense.
that back, even at the time, that would have been, $10,000, $15,000 probably, but
Wow.
yeah, they kept the surgeon, somebody in the hospital said her when I was checking out, I'm like, well, what, can I do anything he's like,
Mhm.
yeah, just come back and donate blood. That would be helpful to us. I'm like,
That's
I can
awesome.
do that, man. I can
Yeah,
afford that. And mind you, I
yeah,
was a poor grad student back then, so it's not, even though I
right,
had insurance, this hospital didn't accept my insurance,
right.
and it wouldn't have mattered anyway because it didn't cost anything.
Yeah,
So, so that was
an awesome, ex
uh, in the
amazing
end,
experience.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was cool, and
Yes.
I lived to tell about it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, when you said labor of love in the beginning, I'm like, these are the moments I'm sure through your academic career and like your like professorship and like teaching, like comes from those experiences that like
Yeah. Yeah.
fueled the like wow, like most like the narratives that were broken down like through that exposure,
Yeah.
or maybe
Yeah.
even if
That's
there
right.
was no narratives, but like more confirmation of like the theory that you already have, like as you're about people in the world and like narratives
Mm.
are like
Mm.
a film that's like not the real thing until you like
Yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah,
it's and it,
yeah, that's a nice way to see it. It's a veneer, right?
okay,
Yeah. Like,
okay,
it's
yeah,
like you when you tell the story, you're driving the Uber and you're, this
yeah,
crackhead's knocking at your window. You're like, hey man, or you and like, and
yep,
you get out and talk to him, and you're like, okay, whatever. What's that? You got to break that
yeah,
stuff down, man. Once you
hmm,
break it down, it's like then you're not afraid in the same way, and you see
right,
it, and what
and
I
you're
saw.
like. Mhm.
No, go ahead,
I was gonna
man.
say like you're not afraid and you're even like pulled closer to them. Like how
Yeah,
that your sheet dropped in the middle and
yeah.
like so much like love happened in that moment. He's like, Gringo, I got you. And he picks it back up. Like
Yeah,
that's gotta be
dude.
so connecting, like in the moment of like vulnerability and
Yeah,
like unknown.
completely. Yeah, completely, man. I'm just standing in the middle of the room, just like nothing at all. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, and I remember, helping this dude like emptying his bedpan for him. He took a big dump in it.
Wow.
I'm like, dude, I'm not wiping you, man, but I'll go clean it out for you. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Because he
Yeah,
had some spinal injury that was like he couldn't. He was really in bad shape,
yeah.
and it was yeah, it's and the hospital care. These were really talented medical staff
Mm.
people. Well, a lot of people in Latin America would go to Mexico for training, right? So in places like this, right? So like in
How
Ecuador,
come?
Colombia, because they have good medicine there. Like people go to Cuba, right? For a lot of people go to Cuba for advanced training, right?
Oh, in
So
medicine?
yeah, medicine, and
Wow.
because the Cubans, the Russians came over, and not just the Russians, but other Europeans went to Cuba and helped train their medical staff, and everything was free in
Mhm.
Cuba, so you could go to Cuba. I knew people. I had friends who needed surgeries, and they went to Cuba for their surgery, really complex
Wow.
surgery. The
Wow.
spinal fusion surgery. I had a graduate student. She was a friend. She was from Chile,
Mhm.
and it's Chile had pretty good doctors there, but the Chileans were like, I knew her because she studied with me in the United States, but her Chilean doctor said, no, you can go to Cuba for this, man.
Mhm.
Couple
Wow.
medical, couple surgeons there who can really do a nice job, and it won't cost you anything. So
Wow.
it's
Oh,
like
really? It's
Yeah.
still taxpayer funded, like you said
Well,
before, like in the same
in
way.
Cuba it is. Everything was socialized there completely, so it didn't matter if you could get in there. You could go. Yeah, that was the thing. The Castro had said, "Hey, if you can get here, we'll take care of you." It's a way of doing like an FU to the United States and other Western
Mm,
powers.
right, right.
So it
Hmm.
was
Hmm.
it worked out to the benefit of certain people. If you had to get there, though, right? So you get there. So
Hmm.
anyway, you really learn that in many ways, it doesn't take, you don't have to have the absolute most advanced care and this kind of things where you spend so much money and all this stuff that the throwaway things, and you have a hospital gown and you wear it once and you throw it
Hmm.
away and this and that, all sorts of stuff.
Right.
You don't need all that. You just,
Hmm.
as surgeons know, I've known people who they travel around the world, including in conflict zones, and they offer their
Services there.
skills. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and somehow they're able to manage a surgery in the middle of the jungle. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, why do
Right.
I? How am I able to do this? And yet, in this advanced hospital in the United States, we're going to charge $100,000 for it. I can do the same surgery in a
Hmm.
few hours, and this person will survive. How
Hmm.
is that? So anyway, that's a
Like what
that's
we're
a
placing our what we're placing our value on based on how it
yeah,
looks,
yeah,
or
yeah. And the lawyers get involved, right? So you could have scaled down surge all sorts of things that you could do here,
Mhm.
right? No lawyers, no nothing, man. You can't sue, you can't this, you can't that. You're just gonna go and we're gonna take care of you, and 99.9% of the time it's gonna be perfectly fine. But you're gonna pay a very small amount of money, relatively speaking, to what you would pay on average, in the US going through insurance and so on. But we don't do that. Right? We could do it, but we don't do it. But that's kind of what happened to me.
Wait,
You
we
know?
don't do what aspect? I
Well, we
missed
don't
that.
have an alternative path for medical procedures like that, that
Like with
it's all
lawyers
or
and it's
nothing.
legal.
Yeah, yeah, because you have to protect against every possible thing
Right,
that could go wrong. Because if you
right.
F it up, it's all gonna fall apart, and you're gonna get sued and like God knows what. But there are a
Mhm.
lot of people. So there are a lot of people that don't get procedures or can't get procedures, and I'm like, dude, why can't we provide that for people,
Mm.
man?
So it's like the
So
intersection of like healing and policy, or
yeah,
like
exactly.
medicine,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the intersection of that. Got
yeah.
it.
And politics.
Okay. In
Yeah, and
politics.
politics and economics. Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
And that's totally not, that's exclude, like that intersection is more so excluded, is not a part of, it's not an intersection in other areas. Like you
Yeah, yeah.
said,
Well,
politics
yeah,
and
that's right.
policy.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it.
So when
There's
I
more
went
liability. Like liability can happen.
exactly.
Like,
So I went for an MRA of my neck. I have an aneurysm in my neck, right up by my skull.
mhm,
I may have had it since I was a kid, actually. Playing, it could have been an old football injury. You know what I mean? Nobody
mhm,
knows at this stage, but it's not changing at all since they discovered it 4 years ago. So
mhm,
it's probably never going to change. Anyway,
mhm.
but I have to get an
It,
MRA every like probably 3 years, just to make sure it doesn't
to
change.
see
But
what it is. Okay.
anyway, I
Mhm,
go to do this and like, okay, I get a gown, and then the gown's gonna they give me you know different things that are all throwaway. It's all just throwaway stuff, man. And I'm
mhm.
just like, oh my god, like what is this? Like, is this necessary? Is it? It's just
Mhm.
crazy. I don't know. Crazy
Like
things.
wasting, like because of the politics and the policy, like using resources that,
Yeah,
like we're wasting resources.
yeah,
You're like, do I
yeah,
need
yeah, yeah,
these resources?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure you're thinking about like where else this could be going, or like, or
Yeah.
this is too, like, I don't need this.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Doctors Without Borders doesn't have this. You know what I mean? They're doing surgeries out in the middle of in South Sudan, and they don't have any of this stuff. And mind you, the survival
Right.
rate is not near what it would be if they were in some hospital in middle of Pennsylvania. But
Right.
nonetheless, there seems to could be some kind of middle ground or something. But anyway,
Mhm.
that's my
Yeah, yeah,
story of that. I got a lot of stories like that, that I never talk about, and that's the other thing. Like, when I die, when I'm over, the stories just go with me, man.
yeah.
They
Oh my
go.
gosh.
They just go.
Mm.
Yeah,
That'd be cool. That'd be a cool project to have like all these stories and
yeah,
you know how they're little, like they're mini books, and
yeah,
each one has a miniature story that offers some type of or like whatever you got from that moment,
yeah, yeah,
like the moral.
yeah,
That'd be a cool little book.
yeah, yeah. It would be nice. I guess it could be like a moth program talk. You know, I don't know if you ever
What's
listened to the Moth.
no?
It's a podcast, a radio show where people tell stories. It
Yeah.
has and it's kind of it's
They're,
nice. It's a poignant
yeah.
story. It's a story that gets you to
It's a
hold on.
unique story. Like that
Yeah,
hospital story is. It's like you don't always hear that story. That
yeah,
that could be the
yeah,
first someone's first time hearing what the inside of a hospital is like. And the
yeah,
interactions that happen in Mexico.
yeah. I got
Or
one.
in
I
that
have
hospital.
I have one from Ecuador. Actually, I can tell.
Yeah,
Another one.
yeah.
I hope
This
one.
is another
I was.
during your grad research, right?
Yeah, this is right between my master's and my PhD. I went to Ecuador for the first time, and
Hmm.
I was how we ended up on this guy's farm, and down up on the coast in this area called Esmeraldas,
Hmm.
and in the northern part, and it's crazy, the stories. You just it's just so crazy. So I end up on this
How
guy's
they come
farm.
up? How they?
Yeah, they just come in the memory, and like, how did I get there?
Yeah.
Anyway, so and like the things you do, like you're in the middle of another country, and someone's like, "Hey, do you want to go to my farm?" I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Yeah, sure, let's go." Well, sometimes,
Right.
some days, some people say yes, and then they go and they, get, I don't know, murdered or robbed or whatever. But the vast majority of the time, it's not. It's just
Yeah.
someone be like, "Hey, why don't you come with me?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"All right,
But you're
I'll go."
saying that there are risks involved at times, like
There's
there
always
are.
a risk. Yeah, there's always a
Yeah.
risk. But mostly when I'm traveling, I just I just have lived my life that human beings, it's not likely
Mhm.
I'm going to encounter a serial killer.
Right.
And if I do, it's fine. I'll never know. It'll be the last thing I know, but it's not likely. It's more likely that I'm going to have really cool experiences, and it's always turned out very positive. And
Yeah.
anyway, so
Hmm.
I go to
Hmm.
this guy's farm. So he's got these horses. So we hop on the horses and we're riding around. And suddenly, at some point, he's like, we stopped. I don't know where we were, and he's like, "Oh shit, man." He's like, hey, hop off, come with me." So we get off the horses and we lead the horses under this tree. Now I forget the name of the tree. I should know this, but it's the the branches come down off the tree, right? So so I don't know if I can do this. I don't know how to do this.
Hmm. You got
Uh,
this. You got this.
but here's like this is the here's the trunk of the
That's
tree,
the
and
stump.
here's
That's the
the
yeah.
canopy. Yeah, here's the
Hmm.
canopy. But
Yeah.
imagine the canopy builds roots all the way down to the ground. Okay,
Mm.
all the way
What?
down to the ground, and then they go into the ground, and so there's space around the trunk of the tree where you can go. Okay, I don't know what
That's
kind of
so
tree it is.
cool.
Yeah.
The
Uh,
the leaves essentially create roots,
The
and then you have
leaves
like
come down and they build roots, right? It
and you
takes
have a whole
years and years, right? I'll look up the tree.
really.
If I had a second, I
Wow.
would look it up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I wish maybe Jeff can share. I'm not sure. Maybe you can share, Jeff,
someone look it
if you
up.
find
But
it.
the tree is that does that in the. Okay, so anyway,
So it's like a little teepee.
exactly. Yeah, it's like a hut. Okay, so
That's
you
awesome.
on these trees, you could take some kind of sheathing and put it around the tree, and it would be a little house. Anyway,
That's
so the guy
awesome.
says, "Hey, bring the horses in here." So we go in there, and he's like, "Be still, like don't move, don't anything." And I hear this sound, and I'm like, "The." what is that, man? And it's just like, it's getting louder, man. And I'm like, whoa. And then you see this big cloud going by. And they were
No
the
way,
the
Stampede.
killer bees, man. Killer bees. Back in the day, there was the big thing of killer bees were coming up from South America, right? So this is in the
Really?
mid 1980s. This was in 1985. Uh,
What?
anyway, there were the bees, and apparently they had attacked a cow on a couple farms over, like previously, like recently, and I don't know whenever it was what he said, but like we're like, oh damn, man. So anyway, we
Yeah,
get
like
back.
it killed.
So we
It
get back
killed the
on the
cow.
yeah. So we get back on the
What did that
on the
look like?
horses. It was just it was like a cloud of
And they're
bees,
just
man,
going
just a
some. They were
cloud.
just
They're
continuing
just
to.
going somewhere, man. Yeah, I don't know where they were going, but they passed us by. So we're
Wow, that had to be a really cool scene.
yeah, it was wild. So anyway, we
Mm-hmm.
get back on, we start riding, and then we're on the kind of going along the edge of this.
Like, and
this
how did he
cliff,
know
right?
too? Just real quick, like he knew it.
He heard them. Yeah, well, he was aware of them because they were in the region, so
Mhm.
he heard them.
And did you
Anyway,
hear anything?
yeah, they were loud. Once we got off the horses, then I the sound started. I could hear it, and then it slowly grew louder and louder, and
Got
then
it.
we got it. Okay,
I was
so
just
anyway,
thinking about like how what he's attuned to. If he heard it first, or if you guys heard it at the same time. I was like, oh, because he's a local, like he's like attuned to. Oh, I
yeah, I
hear the
think he
killer
was
bees.
just
Who
really
knows?
he was paying attention to it. And
Got it. Okay.
killer bee traps in Sacramento, yeah, it was a thing. Banyan tree, man, that's what it is. I think
Mhm.
I think it's a banyan. See if the banyan tree's in South America. Okay, in the Andes. Okay, so we're riding along this edge of the cliff, and then suddenly there's this uh, horse starts. The horse I'm on starts making a ruckus because there's another horse down below. It doesn't.
Right.
He's not happy about, man. They're competitors, right?
So two male horses. I'm
Yeah, two
assuming.
male horses, man. So they
Okay.
were not liking each other, right? So we're kind of
Right.
on the edge of the cliff. I'm like, and I had spent a lot of time riding horses when I was young because my sister had a farm in Kentucky and she always had horses. So I was
That's
very
pretty cool.
comfortable on a horse, right?
Huh.
So maybe a strangler fig. Yeah, maybe that. I don't know when. Yeah. I'm gonna look at it. Hang
I
on.
just I chat GPT'd it, and the type of tree, the banyan tree or whatever, is from Southeast Asia, and not native, at least, to South
Yeah,
America.
you know what? It's the strangler fig. It's
Yep.
exactly the strangler fig.
That was
Yeah,
what
I
they
don't know,
recommended.
Jeff, if you can pull that up. That's really cool. Yeah.
Sounds
Okay, so
awesome.
anyway,
Mhm.
so I'm on this horse and I'm like, hey, listen, man, I know, and I've been on many horses where they rear up and stuff, and I'm comfortable. You just grab on and you go with it, right? So I mean,
Mhm.
I'm the expert rider, but I had a lot of experience riding horses.
Mhm.
But we're on the edge of a cliff, and I'm like, hey, man, you like,
Wait.
you can.
Like it's like one of those sides of the mountain thing where
Yeah,
you're
but
like,
not exactly the side of a mountain, but the other horse is down the cliff. And I'm like, dude, are you gonna try to run down? What are you gonna do, man? Because I'm like gonna protect myself. So I jump off the back. He like now
right.
rears up. We're on the edge. I'm like, I'm out of here, man. So I jump off.
Yeah.
As
Smart.
I jump off, the horse sits on my ankle, right? And and now I've
The
got
what? The
a
cord?
then on my ankle. The horse does. The horse sits on my ankle, right? So now I've got like my foot starts swelling up immediately, right?
You jumped
Okay.
off and then he
I
sat
jumped
down
off
immediately.
behind it and he sat down right on my foot, like on my ankle, right?
Ouch.
So it's like
Yeah.
boom.
Mm.
Okay. So now I've got a twisted ankle of sorts. And I'm like,
Right.
okay. All right, man. Here we go.
Right.
So we get back on the horse, and it's just I'm wearing these boots, these kind of hiking boots type of
How
things.
far is the edge from where you are?
I don't remember, but it was close
Okay.
enough that I was decided I
Scared.
was going to make my exit, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So we get back, and it, it's in pain, right? My ankle's swelling, and it's
Mhm.
swelling. I'm like, whatever, it's okay. It's probably not broken, but I can't take my boot off. But the guy's like, hey, man, there's a nurses, this area, it's a clinic, little clinic down the road. We're in kind of in the edge of the forest, right? It's not the jungle because we're now closer to the coast, but it still is, it's tropical. And I'm like, all right, let's go there. So we get high up in this guy's truck, we go there, and the woman's like, nah, man, I can't tell. There's nothing I can do. It was just her in this one room with a little cot,
Right.
And she says, but why don't you go down the road here? Cause he can go see I have no idea what the guy's name was, right? Osvaldo or something, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, man. So we go down there. We get out. Now I can't walk hardly at all. I have to be helped, to
Wow, it was that bad.
Yeah, it was in really bad shape. We walk up to this guy's hut, right? And there's like jars of, like snakes, because people catch snakes and they put them in jars and do different things. There's skulls everywhere. There's like dead animal carcass, skeletons hanging all over the place, man. And I'm like, oh, damn, this guy, because she said he's a shaman, right? And I'm like, all right, man. All right, here we go. Like, well, let's see what happens, right? So
What were you thinking? Were you like?
I'm thinking, this is the summer before Mexico, right? But I'm thinking like, oh, damn, here's a story. I'm going to be able to tell this story. You know what I mean?
Got it.
Even though I never tell this
Cool.
story. All right, so I sit down, finally this old guy comes out. He's like probably, 70, 75, but he looks like he's 120, Actually,
right.
He moved like he was probably 50, right?
Right.
But, whatever.
But he just had he had the shaman look.
He had the shaman look, man. So I sit down, I put
old
my foot up
and
on
wise.
He takes my boot off now. He's the first person we're going to take the boot off. We're all in now, all in. Because once you take your boot off, that's it. You're never going to get it back on, right? And I couldn't even touch my ankle, man. If I touched my ankle like that, it was painful. Like,
Horse messed you up.
You twisted an ankle, right?
Yep, I have.
So the guy's like, so I put it on his lap, and he's just kind of feeling a little moving and little twists here, and he's just like, is that her? Is this her? Yeah. He's like, okay, I got you. Hang on a minute, man. So he goes back inside, and I'm just waiting. I'm like, all right, here we go. Comes back out. He's got this like half of a coconut or a gourd or something,
Yeah.
And he's got a paste in it, and he's like, okay, here, put your foot up on my lap, so I put it on his lap, and he takes this paste and he rubs it all over my ankle and my foot, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, this is good. And then without telling me, he grabs my ankle and he just twists like in multiple directions. And like my foot is like, and I couldn't even say anything. I couldn't speak. I couldn't say stop. I didn't even remember how to say stop.
You were just in shock.
Spanish. I was just in shock. This guy's like, and I'm like, and this was beyond breaking the swelling. Sometimes you do something like hey, you want to sort of break the swelling. This was way beyond that, man. And so then at some point he stops and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. He starts again, I'm like, wait, I'm not okay. And so,
you thought that was the end, but he was just checking.
Yeah. I'm right. He's just checking to make sure because I'm gonna keep going, man. So he puts more paste of the salve on, or lotion or something that he made, right? I don't know what he made it with. I don't know.
Yeah.
The anal sacs of rattlesnakes or something, you know what I mean? Like,
probably something like that.
Totally, all sorts of things. Right?
Yeah, right.
So he gets finished. He said, "Okay, you're healed. There you are. You're all right. You're good." So I'm like, "Damn, what do I owe you?" I gave him like $1, with the equivalent of like a couple dollars. I asked, "What do you give me?" Something, equivalent of a couple dollars. And that was it, man. Guy's like, "Okay, see you later." Meanwhile,
wait. So
there were young guys around the side of his house. They were all smoking weed, which was so rare, right? And they're reggae music playing. It was just a crazy scene. And this old dude in his house,
Did you vibe with them?
Yeah, well, not so much because I I was just taking everything in. You know what I mean? I was vibing with this guy. I'm like, dude, whoever
Yeah.
you are, you heal me here, man.
Did
Okay.
how did you feel after that experience?
I felt,
Because
well, my
he
foot
twisted your
still
ankle
hurt,
all
man.
up.
Oh, dude, it was more sore than ever, man. It's way more sore than it had been at the start. Okay,
Oh my
so I
gosh,
couldn't
that
put
is
my
so
foot back.
funny.
I couldn't put my shoe back on, so I just hobbled back into the truck. I get back to where I was staying. It's now kind of a little bit late
So
at
you
night.
essentially paid $2 to get your foot just like even more mangled. And
Exactly.
just and then we're like,
Exactly.
I appreciate that, bro.
Thanks,
And
man.
then
That's it, man. Here's $2. There you go. Okay,
that's
so I should
awesome.
have taken a hit off a joint or something
Yeah.
with the guys, you know. So anyway,
Mhm.
I get back to where I'm staying, and I'm staying in this kind of like it's not a hammock, but it's this bed that's kind of really high. It's
Mm,
higher than normal. I had to kind of climb up to get into it, right?
of course.
I have a little something to eat. I don't remember what, and I go to sleep, man, because I'm now
Right.
completely worn out. And
Right.
and I and I go to bed. And I wake up in the morning, man. It's probably like 5:30, 6 in the morning. The sun comes
Uh-huh.
up, you know, because we're right on the coast now, like right on the water. Like right across the
Mm,
street from where we were staying, basically, is the Pacific Ocean, right?
hmm.
And I wake up. And I'm like, oh man. And I get on the corner of the bed and I jump down. Okay. Now, mind you, I forgot about my ankle. By the time I jumped, before I hit the floor, I started to scream because I knew the pain was coming. Like I forgot, you know, and like I launched myself off the bed, and I'm already like, "Ah, you know,
Yeah.
and I land on the floor. It's like nothing at all, no
That's
pain, no nothing.
crazy.
And I take my foot and I go like boom, boom, boom on the floor, you know. It's like nothing. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, holy, well, what happened? I thought I was dreaming this, you know, that I
Uh-huh.
had twisted my ankle. Because, you know, if you twist an ankle, it's going to take you a week or two. When Penn State
Yeah.
football players twist an ankle, like they're out of commission for a couple weeks, man. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Uh-huh.
like, oh, damn. And so that was
You had
it.
to be
Whatever that guy did, man.
that is
He,
so
oh yeah, whatever he did, whatever salve he put on, it wasn't just breaking the swelling because it wasn't about that. It was also what he did. And he
hmm.
said prayers over it, and he blew smoke on. I mean, there were different things that he did, right? He
Right.
was burning something. I don't know, you know, the whole thing. It
Wow.
was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a
Th-
medicine man, and
That's
yeah, is that
and did
wild?
you just that's wild because I wasn't anticipating where the story was going, but then once you said you were like woke up and you were on the edge of the bed, then I started to anticipate the end of this story and I was like,
Yeah.
no way. Is his ankle totally good?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
wow. Yeah, it makes
yeah.
me like I probably would have been reflecting after that experience. I would have been like, what did this guy do? I
Yeah,
probably would have been
yeah,
trying to wrap my head around like what was
yeah.
that? What was that?
Yeah, I wanted to go back to him, man. That the fact that I didn't, you know, and then I went back, and then from there, check this out. From there, I went to the Amazon, right? And took a
Hmm.
little canoe. Crazy stories in the Amazon, but uh,
Wow. Wow.
I
Hmm.
but yeah, you know, you really
Well,
wonder, like, what did this guy know? Like, what did he know? I'm like, you got these sports teams that could bring this guy on board and learn what he did. You know what I
yep.
mean? Because it's like it's
Hmm.
halftime. Your star running back or shooting guard twisted their ankle in the first half. Take a look at halftime. This
Yeah.
guy's going to go fix him up and send him back out in the second half. You know?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy,
I,
man. Yeah, it's so
that is
crazy.
so cool. Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
cool. It's
yeah, it
still
was.
it feels so distant. It's like what is that? You know, it
Yeah,
feels like
yeah,
this. It feels like magic, even though I don't know.
yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
but it feels like it. Just the way you just described that and
Well,
hmm.
yeah, yeah. Really was very special, but it's kind of, you know, when I think about sort of that's the launching of my intellectual journey, right? Those kinds of stories, like traveling
Right.
like that, having those stories,
Mm-hmm.
meeting people. Um, yeah, these.
Because it's
I
like,
had a,
mm-hmm.
from there we went to the Amazon, man, and
Yeah, what happened?
similar thing, crazy story. I'm going to the Amazon. I get on a bus, go out to this little town called Tena, Tena.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Back then. And now the deforestation has really kicked in. People mining for gold and all sorts of things. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
man, just crazy story. I get off the bus. I gotta get to this next town. It's called Misawai, I think is what it was. And
Misawayi.
Misawai. And it's like,
Misawayi.
I thought it was close, man. I just, you do these things when you're young and you're just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go there and then I'll just go wherever. I got a backpack.
Oh
I'm like,
no, it
God,
was
the thing's,
miles and miles.
dude, in the middle of the jungle, man. And then we get off the bus in the middle of nowhere. And this guy's like, where are you going? I'm like, well, I'm going to Misawai. He's like, oh, you can't go there. Like it's the middle of the night. It's like 1 a.m. He's like, here, come with me, man. I'll let you just come with me. I'll take you. You can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you can come back to I get to this guy's place. He's got now what was interesting with him is he was a European guy he was a Ecuadorian guy who was living with his partner. His partner was a European man. So they were gay, which this is 1985, man. This is like
Which
not
is
a
taboo. Mm-hmm.
it's not a common thing, but
Yep.
I think but he, you're gonna meet someone like me in the middle of nowhere. You're like, okay, whatever. I show up at their place, same thing, man. All the jars with the snakes and stuff, and I'm just like, damn,
We meet
these
again.
are all snakes that we that we caught in our house. Like, this is jungle, man. Okay, in their
Wow.
house, right? So anyway.
How far were they from, like, how far was the house away from the pathway they met you on?
Probably like 20 kilometers, man, on a
Okay.
jungle road. Like
Wow.
we're just a straight line, man. We're just cruising down, man, on this old. Anyway, we get there. We
Wow.
finally get to this guy's house. He's like, we have a beer, and he's like, all right, hang on, I'll take you somewhere you can sleep. So I go to this place, and they didn't have any rooms. I'm like, oh man. The guy's like, you can sleep in my bed. Right, I'll sleep somewhere else, right? I'm like, oh, all
Wow.
right, whatever. Well, his bed was just a old blanket or something. I don't even know on the
Mm-hmm.
floor, man. Now, mind you,
Wow.
it's like this is the jungle. I'm like, you should. Are we all right here? It's like it hasn't been cleaned and like God knows how. I'm like, well, whatever. I don't have. I
Wait,
just
and
like
it's like
it's on the
you're in
bed.
like a
It's just
hut?
on the. I'm on the ground. Yeah, I'm in a hut, man, and I'm just sleeping on the floor. I'm like, all right. I'm like, dude, are there tarantulas, snakes? I just saw all these
Right. Is
snakes.
it just
He's like,
forest
you'll be all
floor?
right. You'll be all
You're on
right.
the
But,
like you're sleeping on
yeah,
the forest
yeah,
floor
yeah, yeah. And yeah,
with
no,
just
no,
a
no.
blanket on top.
It was inside this little hut, but the floor was made of like packed dirt, so it was like
Ah,
cement kind of thing.
right. Uh-huh.
But nothing that's
And then
going to
just
keep out the tarantulas and the
yeah,
snakes
all
and the
wow.
scorpions, all this kind of stuff, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
so we're all good. I wake up in the morning. I'm like, all right. I eventually, I walk down to the river. I ask, I need a boat that's going to take me to this place. So this guy like says, here, hop on this boat. And so we just go up the Rio Napa, right? And like, oh, okay, man. So now I'm just cruising along the river, and I'm in the Amazon, man. Like, just like, oh, damn, this
That's
is it. You just
crazy.
go, right?
Uh-huh.
So I get to this place, and eventually, it's cool. I'm in the middle. I'm staying at this little hotel. I don't even call it a hotel, but in the jungle, there's like monkeys and this crazy stuff.
That's
So,
beautiful.
at some point in time, I take a hike. This guy's like,
Mhm.
hey, I can take you on a hike if you want, like through the jungle. I'm like, yeah, definitely, dude. And,
Mhm.
and that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So he
Uh-huh.
takes me, and we go to this community, and these are like Shuar Indians, right? So they are
Who? What's their name
Shuar. The
again?
Shuar is it's a tribe of indigenous peoples.
Wow.
They use blowguns, man. So they didn't use their blowgun, by the way. They mostly don't use it anymore, but they still do for certain things. But dude, it was this massive, like 10 foot long. Put a dart in it, and I held it up, and they said, look, to get that hook, like whatever it was. They had something in a tree that they practice with, right? That they pull it up there, and then they can bring it down to get their dart back. But it was
Wow.
so accurate. I hit this little thing like the size of a coconut on the first try. That's how accurate this thing was, man. I blew
Really?
it, and it flew right up
How
there. Yeah,
was it pretty easy to get velocity? Like did it
yeah,
feel?
yeah. And
Wow.
and so they put poison on it, and that's what they use to kill
To like get
animals, up in
monkeys
the trees.
or
Yeah, monkey,
birds?
whatever they're gonna get, So
Right.
birds, monkeys. So
Wow.
anyway. At some point they say like, hey, we want to invite you, to sit down and have something with us, man. And so so we're going to have chicha. And so it's different people in the community. We're in this area on this like a platform, because now everything's on a platform, because you got to be off the ground, right? You're going to live, you're going to sleep on a platform above the ground, like 6 feet
Okay.
above, right? So you got to climb up. Everybody's homes, everything was on a platform.
So it's like, is this platform just like connected?
Not necessarily separate houses, but all up on platforms.
All on platforms. Got it. And then even like if there was like a communal space, it'd be
This
a
was
platform.
a communal space. It was just a big flat open space, and everybody came and they sat down, right? And so now I'm like the guest of honor, right? Because I'm this guy that comes in from nowhere, right? And so it's like, all right, that's cool. So they make chicha, and the way you make chicha, the way they make it is they take yucca. Yucca is like
yeah, it's a vegetable, right?
Yucca. Okay, yeah. Okay, so starchy vegetable.
Okay. Oh, it's like a potato, kind of.
Yeah, like a potato, but starchier.
Right.
And if you
You
don't
have
know
the
what
Yucca
yucca
app,
is,
right?
yeah, you do like it's a brand. You see it in you'll see it in supermarkets. It's brown. It looks like a big sweet potato, and it's darker brown, and it's really shiny on the outside.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. For anyone listening. So anyway, so the way they make this is they cut up pieces of yucca and they chew it, they masticate it, right? And then they spit it in a big public bin. And so the whole community will do this. They'll just sit around chewing yucca. And so between the yucca and the juice and the saliva, it all goes into this bin and it ferments. And then it turns into an alcoholic beverage, right? So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Steven. Yeah, that's the stuff, man. Yeah, it ferments. So now they bring out this big. It's like a little bucket, plastic bucket, and it's like probably at some point in time they had used it for oil for who knows what, man. But this bucket was not. It had not been cleaned, for example, with soap and water. It was just a bucket that the yucca was in, right?
Right.
And so they give it to me, and they're like, hey, okay, here, this is for you. And I'm like, I'm kind of at the head, and they're like, yeah, everyone's really happy to have me there, and I take a drink of this, and I'm thinking like, I have no idea what it's going to be. I didn't know that that's how they made that's how they made this from the yucca.
Yeah, at the time you had no idea, right?
No,
Just like,
I didn't
this is
know.
the thing that I'm getting. But wait, how? So they spit it in there, it ferments. Do they add water? Like, how does it turn into a drink? Because it still seems solid at that point.
Maybe they add some water, but I think mostly it's just the saliva from the mouth and the saliva and the liquid from the yucca, right? It takes a lot of yucca, man, to make this. So this is a bucket filled. Maybe they must have added water, because I don't know how they make this much yucca. So I take a drink, right? Everyone's watching me. And it was like, if you took, you ever see, like a porta potty? Like, so if you took a little like cup of that,
Oh no!
urine, vomit, and like just some random thing you'd see on the side of the road, and you put it all together, right? And you said, like, here, you're gonna drink this, man. It was just the most okay. Maybe it was mostly like vomit, like I don't know. And I drink it, and I'm just like, and everyone's looking at me. They're like, how do you like it? Now we're all speaking in Spanish, right? I mean, they're speaking in their native language, but enough of them knew Spanish.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's all right. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. No, I'm in the middle of the jungle. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, like,
these people, I don't know who they are. They don't know who I am. I'm like,
you're not gonna be like,
great.
it's disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I go to pass it to the next person. They're like,
and they're like,
no, that's
it.
all for you. It's probably a half gallon, right?
Oh my God.
I'm just like, and I said, I'm like, oh shit! Now I'm a ballsy kind of guy, I'm up for anything, So I'm like, all right. So I take another sip, and then I realize I take another sip, and I'm realizing there's no way. There's just no way I can't do this. It's just not happening. So then finally, as I'm just like holding this, they start laughing. And they're like, no, we're just kidding, man. That's not all for you. Like, it's for all of us. And I'm like, oh.
Man, that's so funny. And you appreciated jokes. That had to be hilarious.
It was hilarious, man.
You were stuck in a predicament.
Yeah, I was gonna drink that whole thing because if they're like, yeah, you got to drink the whole thing, I'm like, I'm gonna drink the whole thing. Like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask them for some puro, like what is their natural liquors made out of corn, right? It's like moonshine, So I would ask for some. You got to give me some puro, man. If I'm drunk enough, I can drink this thing. But like,
that's what you would have said. Wow. Yeah. And not everybody would have, like what must have been going through your mind? Was it like, I need to be culturally sensitive? I need to, or like, I'm just ballsy and I'm going to do this.
It was a little like, of both of those. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that I can do it. I have a pretty strong stomach. So like, yeah, I can do it.
Wow.
But the problem with this, with chicha, like made like this is like, people have all sorts of diseases and tuberculosis and like tuberculosis is rampant in these among the peoples in this region, so it's like, but I don't think you get tuberculosis from that, but nonetheless, but with everybody, I mean, it was just like a crazy, well, you don't get tuberculosis from liquids like that, but who knows? But
that's where your mind goes when you're realizing you're getting, you're drinking something that's coming from the mouths.
Yeah. Dawn's asking, like, what would have happened if I would have chugged it? I think they would have been completely shocked. Yeah. But then they're like,
let's mess with this white guy.
Yeah, and people were really drinking it. They weren't like not, they had accustomed themselves to it, right?
Right.
So,
mm-hmm.
I'm like,
they're like, it's an acquired taste.
Yeah, acquired taste. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was some crazy. That was wild.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
They all spoke mostly Spanish, or their native.
They mostly spoke. Shuar isn't that. Hang on, let me see. What's the language of Shuar? The alcohol level was probably like it was low levels of alcohol. Yeah. Hang on, I'm gonna look.
Mm-hmm.
There are different dialects of that Shuar. I mean, the language is called Shuar, but I'm looking up the different dialects.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Like Jivaro and Jivaro. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's really Shuar. Literally, the word means people. Yeah, that's what it's Shaur. These were the people that were if I recall correctly, these were like the headhunters, the people that used to hunt heads and like shrink heads. Yeah.
Wait, what?
I think the Shuar were the people who used to do shrunken head. Their enemies, they would take the heads and take the skulls out and shrink them. So like they'd be really tiny like that.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Sim, do you mind if I take 1 minute just to go to the bathroom real quick?
Nah, dude, you go ahead. I'm gonna. Yeah.
My bad.
No,
I'll be
you
right
go.
back.
Yeah, you're all good. Let me see if I can share my screen. I don't know if I can do this. I'll pull something up. Let me see if I can do this. Let me see. Nah, that's not it. Hang on, I got it. All right. Hang on. Hang on 1 second. I gotta figure out how to stop sharing the screen. Do you know how to do that? Oh, I did? All right. Hang on, everybody. I'm gonna figure it out.
Unmute my mic on the stream so people can hear me. Dude, it's great stories today. Sam's stories. Sam's story hour.
Yeah, I don't think I can do that. You can. Can we stop the sharing? No. Stop streaming. Did I stop streaming?
You stopped sharing your screen. It's called streaming on Discord.
Oof. All right. Here, Jeff. Here, you can put this up, man.
I'll put it up.
Yeah. Hang on. I'm gonna put this I'll put it in the chat. That's what I just should have done, actually. Yeah. These are the Shuar people. Yeah. If you go down, you see. Yeah. Yeah. It's really wild, man. Really wild experience. And I didn't even know at the time that these were like they call them the head shrinkers. I remember when I was a kid at the Toledo Zoo, I used to go. They had this little museum there, and one of the things they had was a display of shrunken heads.
Huh.
And I used to be as a kid mesmerized by that.
Really?
Oh, so these little heads. I mean, they really were the size of your fist, right? So I don't know what they did.
Right, like you don't know how they shrunk them, but wow. And so these were like, they were like achievements, or like I beat my enemy, or
yeah,
like
I
they would
think
shrink them
so.
and
Yeah, I
hold them
think
as.
that's what it was, like in battle and stuff. Yeah, I don't think you would for your own people. I don't think it's the kind of thing you would do instead of burying your own, people, like that kind of thing. But yeah, it's really
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really crazy story, man. It's funny.
Yeah.
I don't have. I think I was, I was really, not. I was. You could say probably sometimes I was probably reckless. You could probably say I was reckless. But some people, my mother would have said that.
Yeah.
Actually, my mother would have been happy to. She probably would have been really happy to join me on all these adventures. She was really.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of my regrets. I don't have many regrets in life, but one regret is that I didn't take my mom on any trips like that to really say, "Hey, come on, let me take you out and show you some cool things in the world." Because she is someone who turned me on to other cultures, because she was never afraid of people, and she wanted to be around people who spoke their own language, because she felt like she was having an international experience that way. Like, when we went to restaurants and stuff, she wanted people speaking their own language.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's the real food. It's gonna be the real thing. Like she wanted. I mean, she wasn't like that. She was very low key about it, but she just had an intuitive understanding that that's how she was gonna
receive like insight on like differences that she enjoys.
Yep.
you know, she enjoys to see those differences. Yeah, so that's where that's like almost the origin for you in a way, right? Like part of it,
Yeah.
part of like
Yep.
the fire for that,
Yeah. Yep.
for
Yep.
exposing yourself to
Yep.
things.
One of the things you guys
Mhm.
talked about earlier was about how sometimes when you go to a new area and you experience it, people think you might be crazy for going. And one of the negatives, or one of the things that people normally will try to respond to, is like, oh, you're like generalizing these groups of people to say like, oh, there is no issue with this community, or there is no issue with whatever. And I think when you go and travel to these places, you're actually able to like see the complexity of like what is actually causing turmoil in these communities. Where is it actually safe or unsafe to go to? Like we know when we go to Haiti, I mean, right now is different, but you know, when times are more calm, like the whole country is in up in arms, and like there's communities and neighborhoods that you can go to and actually like talk to people, and they won't see you as like some American trying to like do poverty tourism, because they've worked with people that you're working with to understand like these are the things we're trying to do, we're trying to help, or at least try to understand why you're in this predicament.
It
Yeah.
sounds like you're.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it sounds like you're continuing to get more specific into what was kind of covered earlier about like the veneer, and so it sounds like
Yeah.
you're getting more specific into what the veneer unveils, like or reveals when you look past it. It sounds like what you're saying, Jeff.
Yeah, I think that's it very much. And I think that there's yeah, you learn, you learn. And mostly, I don't know, what I've experienced is that wherever I go, the struggles that people have they're kind of the same types of struggles everywhere. And they're a little different here and there, but everyone's trying to figure stuff out. They're trying to figure out how to live within some kind of family unit or something like that. They're just everyone's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's like it just makes me think about whoever thought of the six universal emotions, like that one dude, I forget his name, but he kind of like coined like, oh, here are the six different emotions that like the universal emotions, and then like the
Oh, that's
spectrum,
cool. Yeah,
you
okay.
know, and like you're kind of like modeling or like creating a little thing internally. I'm sure I don't know if you have it written down anywhere, but like,
Yeah.
oh, what are all the universal things that we experience? You know, like the universal struggles that we experience, like the universal.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. That's been my story is people aren't that that different wherever you go.
Yeah.
There are people who are more aware and and less aware, more sensitive, less sensitive, But I don't know. My history, maybe in part for me, there's a lot of it that I have a deep trust of people, and mostly what I get is I think there's a natural attraction, an energetic attraction toward people who are more trustworthy for me. And then I attract people who are more trustworthy,
That's like your safety moving through the world.
Yeah,
Like you're saying.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel mostly safe. There have been times I've been in situations where I'm like, yeah, this is not good. This is not good. I've
Right.
encountered people where I've just been like, nah. One time we were in Prague, and we went to this bar. Lori and I were there. We were waiting. We were going to a concert or something. We said, hey, let's stop in here and get a beer. And we went in, and they were like these, I don't know. They weren't Czechs. They were from the Balkans somewhere. And man, the energy in that bar, there weren't a lot of people there. It was just, I told Lori, it was just I got a feeling in me. I said, now we gotta get out of here, man. We gotta, so we didn't get a beer. We bought a shot of something like small, and we just like downed it and left. I say,
Yep.
out of here. I've had those situations, man.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh,
it's more so a feeling for you,
yeah,
like
it's
when you
kind of a
walked in there.
feeling. So well, sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
an observation, like, whoa, man,
Yeah.
whoa. This is, you know, I mean, I'm a sociologist. I'm reading the room always,
Right.
man. I'm constantly. So,
Right.
that's always going on. But,
Yeah.
and it would appear sometimes if you're with me, you'd think like, oh, he's not he's just trusting, like he's not really reading the room, he's not aware of this. And I'm like, no, when Lori and I walk around the neighborhood, I can tell stories about every house. And Lori's like, how do you know that? I'm like, well, I'm observing everything.
Yeah, you see it. Wow.
Like,
Just
yeah,
because it looks like you're not
yeah,
doesn't mean you're
yeah,
not taking it in.
yeah.
Yep.
So
It's
yeah.
so interesting too, where that comes from. I've talked about this before, like observing with other conversations with like Joy or like Pedro, or I used to I took this Jordan Peterson test that was like the multi-personality test.
Hmm.
Or not multi-personality, but what is your personality based off of like the ocean,
Yeah.
openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And it's like this 80 question test, that was made by Jordan Peterson. And at the end of it, he gives you like a comprehensive breakdown of like where you are on the spectrum between like openness and conscientiousness, and like, what your score is. And one thing, and there's like neuroticism. And one thing I didn't know about neuroticism was like yes, like there's a lot of anxiety there. Like it's been a while, but one factor that is super interesting to me about neuroticism, it's like it helps you notice danger, or like I guess in the hunter-gatherer societies,
Ah,
like
yeah,
yeah, like neuroticism would be like when people were hunting the predators, the
yeah,
people that were like maybe more neurotic would be like searching out to make sure there's no one hunting them, or they'd be like
yeah. That's
observant
cool.
of the potential danger. And it's like, so neuroticism has evolved differently in like the modern day, where we don't need that as much because there's not people like hunting us. But I guess
Yeah,
maybe it evolved in like knowing social cues of like when there might be danger, or maybe being
yeah.
able to tell if someone is lying, or
Oh, that's
but
cool.
yeah, so I was like, it's so interesting.
Oh,
And I
that's
feel
pretty
like that
cool.
too, like observing the scene to see like what's safe, or just yeah. So I don't know. You made me think about that
I remember
as
one time Lori and I were in Tel Aviv and we were going to we were walking to, is it Rafa? Uh um, man, to yeah, yeah. Jaffa. Yeah. Jaffa.
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 Yeah. Jaffa it is in English.
Hmm.
Uh we decided to walk back, and we were going through all these and we're always ending up in these sketchy neighborhoods, man. Lori and I don't know what, because we just go and explore, and we just end up in these
Yeah.
sketchy places. We've been places where they stop us and like, listen, you need to go the opposite direction here, man. And we're like, wow. And I mean, we're aware, but we're very aware. We're very thoughtful. But in any case,
Yeah.
I remember one time walking and we went down this street and,
Hmm.
it's Israel, right? So, you're always, when you're in Israel or Palestine, if you're on the West Bank or whatever, you're always, you're just aware like you're in a different place because obviously all these
Hmm. Hmm.
so many people walking around with guns and stuff. But
Okay.
we were
Okay.
walking down the street and I stopped and I said, hang on a second. We're not going down the street. It was a completely empty street. But I'm like, we're not this one. We'd just been down empty streets. I'm like, yeah, but not this one. And
Huh.
we're gonna go a different direction.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what it was in me that had
But
that.
something was telling you that.
Something said, don't go
Yeah.
down this one, man. you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like the whatever sensor, like some sense was going off.
Yeah,
in your
and for
body, whatever
somebody
that
else, they
was.
never would have been in this. They wouldn't have been in that situation because they never would have. They would have been in a taxi or something, you know. But
Yeah.
we're like, nah, come on, this is good. Let's do it. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. All right, listen, we should
Yeah.
go. I gotta go. I gotta take care of a couple. I gotta finish a couple documents for my trip.
Feel that.
Um,
Yep.
I think we'll be on. We'll rock. We'll do something when I'm in Korea for sure. I'm gone too long to not stream, so we'll make
Mhm.
things happening. Um, yeah, the
Sounds good.
vet. Yeah, always listen to your inner voice. Yeah, you learn that. And definitely, that's the. I remember, you know, like speaking to different people who have been in uh, conflict situations in war who talked about that. Like there's an inner voice that you have that you gotta have it, you know.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
but you know the problem is you have to you have to build it up, right? You got to have a lot of experience to be able to strengthen that voice, right?
right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of interesting. All right, so listen,
Mm-hmm.
man. Let's blow out. Thanks everybody, and thanks for listening to the stories. It's fun to tell them.
Yeah, they were cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're welcome, Dawn. I appreciate it. Let's appreciate that somebody's listening. I don't know. It's crazy, you know. You get to this is what I say. Like you get to a certain place, and then then you don't have anyone. Think about all the assisted living centers and stuff with people who've got these amazing stories, but nobody to listen to them, man.
Wow,
And
that's
not
such a cool
everybody has
book.
amazing stories, but some people do. You know,
Yeah,
and think about that.
some person's got to have at least one. Like everybody, something that would be profound, or
Yeah,
just unique to them
yeah,
that's like, oh wow,
yeah, something. All right, man,
that's
but
a
I'm gonna
cool.
head out.
Yeah,
I'm just
sounds
gonna
good.
hop off. So listen, be well, everyone, and we'll be in touch, man.
Peace, guys.